In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in black and white emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we are coloring conversations on the canvas of America. Tonight, I'm your host, Charles King, and I would like to talk to you guys about to be a black man here in America. To be a black man in America is to walk with history on our shoulders and hope in your chest. It is to carry the weight of systems that were never built for our thriving, while still daring to build legacies that outlive us. Tonight, we speak not just for struggle, but for truth, not just of pain, but of power. Because the story of the black man in this country is not a monolith. It is a mosaic of resilience, brilliance, and unshakable purpose. This show is not for performance. It's for healing. It's for reckoning. It's for those who've been told to shrink, but chose to stand. We're here to name the weight we carry and to honor the truth we live. So whether you're tuning in from a dorm room, a prison cell, a boardroom, or a barbershop, know this: your story matters. Your voice belongs, and tonight we speak it loud. So this episode tonight, I just want you guys to know that the theme of this episode is about being a black man here in America, and what that means to be black and to be a black man, but the weight that's put on us in so many different ways that a lot of us, one, don't realize it, don't recognize it, and don't really think as to what's really causing a lot of the issues that we have. So I want you guys to know that this episode is raw, is unfiltered, is a reflection on lived experience of black men in America, and everyone has had a different experience. So just make sure that you guys understand that as I speak to this, a lot of people may not feel the same way, but this is what I'm sure the majority will feel. Okay, we're going to talk about the dual reality of brilliance and burden, legacy and exclusion, healing and harm through personal testimony and communal truth. This episode challenges you, the viewers, to listen, reflect, and to act. So, for starters, let me just say this. To be a black man in America is to live with a dual reality, one shaped by brilliance, resilience, and legacy, and another shaped by suspicion, exclusion, and systemic violence. It's not just difficult, it's deliberate. So, as I told you guys about this episode being unfiltered and it's raw, we're going to talk about this from the very bare minimum. And so, just to get this rolling, when you hear me mention that we're talking about the legacy, we're talking about the resilience, we're talking about the brilliance of black men. But when we talked about that other, that's shaped by suspicion, exclusion, and systemic violence, now that's one that I'm more than sure that every black man here in America has actually felt this in some shape, form, or fashion. So now, as I talk about this, this is only about truth. And so for some people, they may have hurt feelings, but I have nothing to do with that. The purpose of this show tonight is to talk about our raw strength as black men, but also talk about the positives, but also we will talk about the negatives because there's a lot of things that we don't do. But I'm going to start from that other side. The other side I was talking about, with the suspicion. The suspicion of being a black man, and it matters not where you go, what situations may have arisen, what has happened, and you have nothing to do with it because it's always quick and easy for someone to say, yep, he's black. Black people are there, so he must have done it. He must have done it. He must have done it. Wrong place, wrong time. How can you be in the wrong place at the wrong time when you're living in a free country? How can you be in the wrong place at the wrong time? Well, now we talk about redlining. So now when you talk about redlining, it's like, okay, well, this area is off limits to black folks, black men in particular. This area is off limits. So if you're caught in this area and you're looking suspicious, which is always, then you must have committed a crime. How do we always have this suspicion that if you're a black man, that you are the one that must have done something wrong? How do we live like that? How do we possibly live through those kind of experiences? That's the question that we need to ask each and every last one of ourselves, because when it comes down to it, this is where we have to always be our best. We always got to be a step ahead when it's not even about being ahead. A lot of us just want to just live our life and be happy. Well, so when we talk about that suspicion, so let me just tell you, to be a black man in America, what that looks like. Okay, let's start first at home. Now, you've got friends and family that will instantaneously categorize you and say, this is what you do, when that's not really the case. But from hearing it so long and so much, you start to take on these characteristics, and it's like, that's just who you are as a person, when that's not true at all. Which means people are dictating what your life is like, what your life is supposed to be about, because it's you. Well, no, that's not the way that works. And so, we're going to get into that and a whole lot more. And so when we talk about the historical and emotional weight of being seen but not understood, that is also the one thing that is one of the biggest stigmas that are put on black men. If you got your hair done a certain way, then you must be a criminal. You must be, just a different category. I mean, there's different categories that they put you in because if you look this way, if your hair is this way, or if you walk this way, this must be who you are. That's who you are, and that's what you do. When you walk into a store, you're suspicious of being robbed, a burglar, or you just want to rob a place and you just want to kill people. And this is what people start to say about black folks, but black men in particular. But not all black men are doing that. There are some that do those things, but it's not every black man. But every black man has that stigma. Now, the thing that's crazy about that is how many of us actually have the gall or the gumption to sit down and talk to each other and communicate in a real serious way that it really matters. Not quick conversations, because we all know that we had to have that talk in growing up, because we all had to worry about being shot and killed or arrested by cops, because we must have. And that's not even the case. But let mainstream media and America tell you that's what black men do. Black men are criminals. Black men are thieves. Black men are murderers. Black men cheat. Black men don't know what it is to be in monogamous relationships. Black men don't know how to love. Black men are mean. Black men love to fight. Black men are doing all of these things according to these people. That's not true. And so when it comes down to some of these things, we've got to end these stigmas. To set the tone, this is not a cry for pity, and it's definitely a declaration of the truth. And when it says a declaration of the truth, it's because these are the things that people need to understand and know right now. This is what people need to be learning, that when it comes to black men, believe it or not, being the original kings of this world, of this planet, deserves more than the respect than what we're being given. So it's not about asking for that respect, it's demanding that respect. Each and every individual that's on the face of this earth, when you see a black man, you need to be giving out all the respect in the world. Because when it comes down to it, not only would you not exist if it was not for black men, you wouldn't even have the mindset to move forward and be who you are or what you think you are right now if we didn't teach you. That's why it's so important to have black men in classrooms. It's because the teaching is second to none. So let's talk about the burden of being seen. There are 4 burdens. There's criminalization before speech. There's economic gatekeeping. There's policing and surveillance. And there's emotional suppression. Let's talk about the criminalization before speech. As I mentioned to you guys earlier, when you see a black man, most people are instantaneously saying that there's a problem over there, somebody got shot over there. Okay, there's that black man right there. He probably is the one that did it. That's how criminalization goes in America when you see black men. Black men never get the benefit of the doubt, but always get the burden of the problems. But when it comes to the strength of holding up, not just this country, but people in all these different corporations, people in general daily living. When it comes to things that when you need emotional support, when you need strength, you're relying on a black man. You're relying on a black man. So now we have to carry this weight of being criminalized, and we didn't even do it, don't have the opportunity to say anything, but if you say anything, then you're brutalized and you pretty much nearly killed, if not dead already, from police. You get before a judge in the justice system, which we know there's 2 systems. You've already been convicted. So it says here in America that you're innocent until proven guilty. But when you're a black man, you're guilty until proven innocent. Now, that same stigma itself goes to black people in general, but it's especially for the black man. So why are we so criminalized in this manner? Now, like I said, I don't. It does not matter what your ethnicity is. There's crime everywhere. Everyone, not everyone, but every ethnicity. People are committing crimes. Now, the crimes that are blurred up or played up on national media, they make it look really horrifying when you see black men because that's their job. The job is to criminalize the black man. But it's a fact that the major crimes that are committed here in this country are created by white men, are done by white men. White men go out and they kill people like it's nothing. And they have the ability, well, not the ability, but the police gives them the benefit of the doubt to talk to them after murdering several folk. They kill 5 and 6, 10 people at a time. But they have to be studied. When you're black, and if you may have made a mistake, okay, wasn't intentional, but you may have done something that may have caused some harm to someone. You're criminalized. You're either in prison for 15, 20 years, 25 years at the most, depending upon the state you're in. And the most states with the life sentences of 25 years, they give you that 3, 4 times. So if it's 4 times, you know that's 100 years, so you know you're never coming out. So you know where you're going to be for the rest of your life, because that's always with no parole. Now, when you're white, you can be, they can rehabilitate you because you get that benefit of the doubt. When we know who these white men are committing most of the crimes. You got the white women that are doing more of the white collar crimes than the white men that do white collar crime as well. And they too kill people. But they're the ones that's screaming out like, oh, I'm afraid of this big black man. There's no such a big black man. That's all in your mind, and that's a facade. And this is how you play with black men's lives. Because if a Karen screams and she says, I'm scared and there's this black man here and I don't know what he's doing and he shouldn't be here and he just looks scary and he looked at me wrong. The police is coming out instantaneously. They're not only going to detain that black man, they're probably going to beat him half an inch from his life before there's anything that's even said or he can say anything, because you don't have the opportunity to speak. If you speak, then you're speaking out of turn, and that gives them the opportunity to really kill you if they see for it, because they say they're afraid of their lives when it comes to black men. But we've seen several times where the white men actually shoot at them, stab them, beat them, fight with them like crazy. They don't even shoot them, but they have the guns that they set them up and they kill policemen like it's crazy. But they still never get sentenced to prison. But black men, we need to find a better way of how we handle things, where we all need to find ways to be a bit better when it comes to how we want to systematically handle situations like that. Because a lot of us that may have never faced those situations before, that when you do face those situations, you need to make sure that you have an opportunity or you have a plan in place where somebody's going to actually be able to get to that rescue and aid as best as they can, or to be able to speak for you in a timely manner. Because I can guarantee you that once they get you into a police precinct, you're never coming out. You're never coming out. And if you come out, your life is going to be scarred so bad that you're going to have all kinds of issues, but they never have to suffer any repercussions for what they did to you. When we talk about the economic gatekeeping part, economic gatekeeping is just truly horrific. Now, I want you guys to think back, and most of you can. If you go back to the 70s and 80s, when we were talking about making money and bringing black men being the breadwinners in their homes, for those that were actually 2-family homes. Now, when it came to the pay scale, of course, the unqualified white man always got paid more money, like he still does now. He still gets welfare. But when he was at the top, he's at the top of that scale. The black man was second. The white woman was third. The black woman was on the bottom. Now, there was that way until the actual change occurred. When the change occurred, because black women are so much more educated than any gender here in this country, black women now at the top of the pay scale, followed by the white woman, the white man, the black man is still at the bottom. Now, when we're talking about black men wanting to start businesses, and you go and you do what's necessary, you face a problem where you can't get funding for your business. You can't get funding for your business because of the streamlining that has taken place. The streamlining is keeping you from flourishing because you work, you pay taxes, you do all the good things that you're supposed to do. And you're supposed to be able to have that opportunity to get that loan to help you like everybody else does. Well, it's going to be much, much harder for the black man. Much, much harder. And so everything that's been done now up until the times that we're in now, with the elevation reversed on its head, because now it's all about women. The women get the funding. The women get to be in charge primarily. Okay? And so the pay scale goes, as I said, black woman, white man, black man. All of this change that's occurred, notice the black man has never had the priority, and he still does not have that priority. But he faces more issues than just that, because there's an odds between black men and black women. And so now she is telling you, you don't make enough money. He's trying to explain, why, but she says, not good enough. Not all. This is not all. I'm just giving you an example. And when you see this, if this applies to you or not. Because this is what's happening. And this is what's turning the black man, what's making him more scorned than you can imagine. And he's scorned because he does everything he's supposed to do, ain't got no criminal record in the world. But he's trying to build, but you won't build with him. You won't build with him, but you'll take a chance somewhere else. Why? This again is how we have the economic issues in our community. Because if our communities were to come together and do what we're supposed to do together, that issue shouldn't even pop up. It shouldn't even take place. But it does. And it takes place because not listening, everybody's talking at each other, and that's all you got. That's all you got. Nobody's listening, but you're talking at each other. But the suffrage is that of the black man, and it's really horrible that it's still taking place and it's still happening. But when you see organizations that actually do some things to try to help the future leaders, these future young black men that's growing up, I mean, hey, my hands go off to them, because I like that. I like that, because we've got to do a whole lot to instill more strength and more growth and more of a learning opportunity for leadership with these young black men today, because these future kings of this world that's coming here in these next few years, we need to have them ready. We need to have them ready, because I can guarantee you, if they're not ready, and we understand the plight and the situation as to the young ladies, how they sit in this well-groomed position. They've been ready. But because you're ready, young lady, that don't mean that you turn your back on that young man. Because you guys do wonders together, not apart. Not apart. We've got to economically come together and build our communities. We need to keep those dollars circulating in our communities. We got to keep them circulating. But it does not happen if you don't work with that young black man. Because that's the important part. That's the thing that matters right now today. Building our communities. We got to help to open up these gates and do this on our own, because if it comes down to the real system is going to do one thing. It's going to create a further divide. And who needs that? Because it's all about dividing us anyway. That king that you know that you want to talk to and be with, go be with that king. And y'all make it work. That's what y'all got to do. There's no such as sitting around here talking some, oh, well, black men kill me. Oh, they just the worst at this. They just the worst at that. And when you say that, young ladies, are your sons like that too? Are they horrible? You don't want to put that on them, but you want to put it on somebody else. But you can't say that without looking at the man that's right there in your house. That's your son. Because that same thing that you're saying, somebody's going to say about your son. Let's get this together and let's actually build, create these businesses, because these young minds today can do all of that. These young minds also need to be helping those that are ready to pass that torch, because you got to work together to get this knowledge to keep going. That's how we do that. That's how we continue to build legacy. That's how we continue to keep our communities flourishing. That's how we continue to create that generational wealth that we need to start doing, because a lot of us don't create generational wealth. We got to start doing that. It's very important to do that. And we talk about policing and surveillance. Policing and surveillance is the worst thing in the world, because the news loves to show you some stories of black men being arrested and beaten and maybe shot by policemen, and just speaking of how the policemen were fearful and how these men were attacking the police, and people showing some camera angles that totally make it look like this is what's happening when really it did not happen. But we also know that when it comes to policing and surveillance, they're surveilling black men like you would not believe. I mean, they're surveilling our communities like you would not believe. And all the gentrification that's taken place, pretty soon there's nothing to surveil. So if everything is taken away, what are you gonna do? So you see, they want to keep us in this prison system. The prisons are for profit. They're for profit. So, there are a lot of people that look just like me with all this melanin in their skin that's profiting off black imprisonment. They're profiting. They love it. They wouldn't change a thing. They speak highly of this, and that's what they do. So if that's the case, how do we fix that? How do we fix that? See, again, this is where you have to come together, and we've got to come up with a real serious system that more than just shines a light on policing and surveillance, but call it out as truth-telling as to what it really is. It's all about trying to go back to 1955 and enslaving black and brown folk like there's no tomorrow, taking away all the rights of the black and brown folk. especially black men. They want you first, black man. And whatever's necessary, that's what's going to happen. But we've got to come up with a way that we got to stop all this policing and surveillance in the most negative way that's affecting our communities and affecting our black men. It's happening. It's real. It's real. Now, like I said, we do have criminality that happens in the black community. There's a lot of black men that are a part of the criminal system that actually have done some things. But do they not deserve the opportunity to, to get the opportunity to redo a second start to their life? Do they get that opportunity? Most people will say no. Most people would say no. But for me, I think when you're judgmental and you get the opportunity to sit there and you try to tear down somebody, you need to be looking for karma. Because when karma comes back, karma is not going to be nice at all. Because you're going to have to take account of those things that you say when you judge people, especially when you misjudge people. Because passing judgment on people is the worst thing anybody could do. But it happens to black men like nobody's business. You walking down the street, ain't did nothing to nobody, and the police just roll up on you. They roll up on you for no reason and say you fit the description of. We're always fitting the description. We're always fitting the description. Has anybody ever asked that question? Why? Why do I fit the description? And you have to pretty much give your whole kidney to prove it wasn't you. It's crazy, but it's true. But when we don't do anything to make it better, then what is it that we can do? You see, we already know that ever since coming into the 1960s into the 70s, they were already finding ways to take the black man out of the home. When they took him out the home, they figured that the woman is vulnerable, and they found many, many ways to just keep her from actually making contact with her close male companion forever. So they tell her she's got to put this stigma on him, and she can't be dealing with him if she's going to get assistance. Is that right? Or should something else be done about that? I think it's kind of crazy when people try to tell you what your life should be and who you should be with and who you shouldn't be with. I'm not telling people that, but I am telling you that when people can actually put a stigma like they do on black men, they're basically saying, do not be bothered with black men. They're telling you, don't be bothered with black men. And you got a lot of people that say, I don't deal with black men, and I won't deal with black men. It's a very hurtful thing, but it's true. But it's true. When we talk about the emotional suppression, with everything going on from the mental to the physical on the black man, he's suffering emotionally so horrific that people act as though if they do not notice it. They want you as a black man to be there when there's an issue and there's fright. They want you to go take care of this. When especially when it comes to labor, we need to move. They need you to use that strong back and move stuff. You're good for labor. When we talk about we have a problem to solve, we need black men to solve that problem. When we talk about where you need to go and how you need to get there, you need the black man to figure that out. But if you've gotten what you need, now you turn your back on him and it's time for him to get gone, or you have to do something to help make his life even worse by helping him be a part of the criminal system. Use black men for what you need. After you get what you need, then you tell them to go about the business. You see, the families, which is so important, you know, it seems as though if black men are not there for their kids, there are a lot of them that are not, but there's a majority of them that are. But that's not the way black men are portrayed about their kids in the media. Let it be told, black men just don't. They just have babies and they leave them. That's not true. That's not true. But again, when he wants his rights to be around his kids, the mother says no a lot of times. She won't agree. She won't agree. But we've got to put these families together because everybody can survive on their own, true enough. Nobody's worried about survival because, if anything, that's one thing that you learn as a, especially a young black man. You learn survival, but it's not just about you. It's about that family. If we're going to build these families, then we need to do the right things necessary to put them all back together. You know, if you take a chance on driving uh, driving over into Tennessee and you live in Georgia, you take a chance with the possibilities of your car breaking down because it's got issues, but you don't take a chance on that relationship that you had or what you started with this black man, and you discontinue the relationship. No. Let me tell you something. Anytime you're in a relationship is work. There are going to be ups and downs. You can't pin the issue of a relationship on one gender and not the other because you're both involved. This is where you have to work if you're in a relationship. You got to work to keep that relationship. That relationship, don't just say, oh, we're just evolving, you're at 30 years. No, sir. There are ups and downs. With those ups and downs, you got to learn, you got to stick it out. At least that's old school because now I don't think people marry for love anymore. I mean, there may be some. I don't know. That's just me just thinking off the top of my head. But if you truly love someone and you've been together with that person for at least 15 years, that's love. The thing is, to keep it going, you've got to figure out what you got to do to keep the fire burning. Don't ever let the fire stop burning because once the fire goes out, you got a problem. Fire goes out, you got a problem. Because when you get that fire back on, it's going to take a lot of work, more work primarily, to get the flame going again. Because there's a lot of stuff that's being said, for one, that probably is not true, but it's just feelings that's just raw and emotional that's being spoken. But if you want that relationship, I'm telling you, you've got to work at that relationship. It's not fly by night. Relationships do the ups and downs. They do that. But because they do that, that don't mean that when it's down, they say, okay, well, we've had this run. Okay, bye. We're done. I'm breaking up with you. I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm divorcing you. Bye. No, that's not the way that works. So let me just tell you about this. When we talk about our community and we talk about the reflections, you know, I've seen, my grandparents together for a long time. I've seen other couples outside of my family dynamics that's been together for a long time. The same with myself. I've been in my relationship for a long time. I've been married for a long time. And I'm telling you, it's not peaches and creams. It is not peaches and creams. But when you love, you stick it out. You got to accept the good and the bad, because if you're going to build a community, you're going to need to rely on each other in order to do that. You're going to need each other. So don't internalize the bias, especially when it comes to our own family. Don't even internalize the trauma, because the trauma is something that affects Black men more than people can imagine, as I said before. Because when you're a young boy and all of a sudden you've been thrusted upon as the man in the house and you're just 10 years old, that's trauma for that child. That's a stigma that you're putting on that kid that he does not deserve. When Black men have to not only do provide emotional support, security support, and just love for the family, but he's struggling from the employment perspective, and you start disrespecting him, you're causing him problems. You're giving him mental issues that, one, he don't know how to deal with. He's not actually saying it to you, but he's got some kind of mental issue that's being developed because he wants to do better, but you're not giving him the benefit of the doubt. How do we work that out, and how do we make that happen? You sit down, you communicate, you talk, and you come up with a plan and you make it work. Because if he's down today, you could be down tomorrow. Stop piling on Black men like that. Stop doing that. Because, I think if you really look at how this looks, especially from a societal perspective, you would think that Black men are just always the worst, have had the worst character in the world. Do you hear people saying that about Martin Luther King? No, you don't. Was he a perfect man? Well, we don't know that, if he was, if he wasn't. But I can, when you just look at from the way his life has been talked about, hey, he was a really good man. But was he perfect? No, he was not. But he was there with his family. You see, these are the things that we've got to start instilling, not just in ourselves, but in our kids and, well, the offspring that we have, if we have the offspring. Because the offspring has got to have some kind of example in order to keep pushing forward with the messages that we want to get out. Stop jumping on Black men and piling on, because that in itself means that you really want to destroy the world. Because we know that had it not been for the Black men all over this world from the creation up to this point, what would we have? What would we have? Treat that king the way he needs to be treated. And king, you need to make sure you take care of that queen the way she needs to be treated. One hand washes the other, and we have to do what we're supposed to do. when we talk about this economic gatekeeping and relationship strain, now see, from I broke down the historical pay scale issue and how that worked, right? But now, economic disparities affects romantic relationships and household dynamics. So now let's just call it for what it is. He has a job, but his job is paying less than his wife's fiance, girlfriend, whomever he's living with, his partner. His pay is less than yours. You're the breadwinner. So do you get upset because you make more money than him and you want him to make more money than you, so you feel like you have to have more of a break than you feel like he's getting because you think he's not doing what he's supposed to do? Is that honestly how you feel about it? Or is it that reality sets in and you realize that, hey, this is not where we wanted to be economically, but what can we do to make it better? Which means that you got to communicate and you got to work on it. Is that what you do? Or do you just say, nope, we just can't do this? You guys have got to start thinking about building these families and having the family dynamic that you know that your older parents, grandparents, great grandparents, uncles, aunts that you see have been together for a long time. They've been together a long time for one reason. That is, nobody ran away when times got hard. Times get hard. So does that mean that, because, you just don't like the way that situation look like? Or is it because your friends are telling you that you need to break up with them? If your friend is telling you that, you probably need to keep an eye on your friend. You probably need to keep an eye on your friend, because that means that your friend wants your husband or your boyfriend. She's telling you to break up with him because she wants him. We don't need to be playing these kind of games. What we need to be thinking about is life is serious. Think about the situation we're in right now today. How many families are out there where you got single family homes and people don't understand survival skills? And if you don't understand survival skills and understand what we're under right now at this present day, survival skills is not saying, okay, well, I can pay my rent and I can pay the light bills. No, that ain't survival. Survival, that's included in what you do to survive, but that's not just survival. Survival is going to be able to, especially when resources are short, you're going to be able to have to take all of this, and this is infamous. You have to take all of this and have to be able to bring it in and take all of those resources and get a little bit from each and know how to use it, when to use it, how much to use it, and why you're going to use it. You see, a lot of times when people start thinking that everything is about money, you start causing yourself a problem, because everything is not about money. People say, oh, money make the world go round. Yep, they also say money is the root of all evil. So that means that when it says the root of all evil, people will kill you for money. Family, friends, strangers, they will for money. At least what they perceive you got that you might not even have. Build your families. Build your families now. You go and find that king that you know that you're supposed to be with. You go find him and y'all work that out and y'all get those families together like you're supposed to. That's what we're supposed to be doing. You got all these idiots running around here on all these different platforms, all across the news spectrums and so forth. And everything that they're preaching separatism of black men and black women. A lot of you are not even looking. A lot of you are not even looking. But you have to come together. We all have to come together. But I'm just telling you, we need to build our tribe the way it needs to be built. We need to be building these tribes right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. So just in this whole situation, I just want you guys to know that the toll that this takes on most black men is really, really horrible, because a lot of times he just feels like, one, he don't get a break, nobody cares, and when he tries to say what he needs to say, nobody's listening. Why? Why don't that king deserve the respect that he's giving, and when he's trying to put forth his best effort to make life that much better, not just for himself, but for those that are in his close knit circle. That is, if it's his family, he's trying to do things for his family. If it's for the external family as well, he's trying to do things for the external family. But you still want to put that stigma and hold him to this standard that is so high that the average person, regardless of who he or she is, will not be able to come up to that standard. And if that's the case, why even do that? Why even create that kind of habit? Why even try to do that? Because as we talk about employment, look, and if you actually go to Bureau of Labor Statistics, what you're going to find is that the majority of young black men, or black men in general, are trying to do things from an entrepreneurial perspective. The reason why he's doing that is because, one, he knows that he's not getting a fair deal where he is. You need to listen, young lady, young man, as to what he's saying to you. You need to listen. Those opportunities are not coming to him the way they're supposed to, and he's not comfortable with that. So he'd rather create his own lane. When he creates his own lane, what's wrong with supporting that? Should be nothing. Support him like he's going to support you. But it's not about, oh, we have to do this because I'm doing this, you got to do it for me. No, you're doing it because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. This is how you get to that point of actually growing to start creating generational wealth. Because once you start creating generational wealth and you're building your family, everything is there within your whole entire little tribe that you created, and you're making magic happen. So I'm going to talk about the justice system and mental health. So with the structural injustice and its psychological impact on black men, again, that's another thing that's second to none. We have a stigma in our community that black people don't go see therapists. Black people don't go see psychiatrists. You don't talk to no counselor. You go to church. You go to church. And when you go to church, church is going to solve all of this for you, because you're going to get that spirit. Spirituality a lot of times is not where that is. But that works for some people, and I'm not cutting it short. I'm just simply saying that when it comes down to it, you have to. You have to do the right thing when it comes to building your family. You have to do the right thing. Because the mental health situation is getting worse. It's getting worse. And it doesn't matter where you go, who you know, what you're starting to see, you're starting to see a lot of black men that just do not have the actual, uh, the capacity to continue under the pressure which they've been put under. That pressure is like just too much. It's too much. And knowing that, as I say, in the black community, we don't go to therapy. Most of us don't go to therapy, shall I say? Not everybody. Most of us don't go to therapy. Especially if you're egotistical, then you're definitely not going to no therapist because you feel like you got it. Nobody can tell you what to do. You got it. But I've got to say, there's nothing wrong with counseling and therapy because when you do it, believe me, you'll feel much better. I've done it several times myself. And I'm going to tell you that after every therapy session I've ever had, I felt more than just comfortable. I felt more than comfortable. So let me tell you guys about the betrayal of being policed by those who look like us. Now, this is an issue that I don't know how any of you that's in law enforcement and you got the same kind of melon and you in your skin and you look like me and you can sit there and you can unequivocally say that you're doing your job. You're doing your job to show out that you are doing the work of those that want you to do the work, to try to dismember, to try to destroy, to try to be as disruptive as possible in that black man's life. See, they won't do it, they'll let you do it. And you do it because if you don't, then you're not going to have a job. What doesn't make sense about that is that that's happening more than we can imagine. So, this is why police are just never going to be trusted. Whether you're black, white, Puerto Rican, or Jew, you're just not trusted. You're not ever going to be trusted. And you're not ever going to be trusted because what you're doing is you're wreaking havoc on somebody's life, causing somebody some harm, and then lying about it. That's what you guys do. You lie about it. There are some that want to do the right thing, but there's not enough of those compared to the ones that don't. So, what does that look like? Can somebody tell me what does that look like? Because I can tell you, I really have a problem when it comes to this policing situation. I'm not one that can say or will be able to say that I've had a run in because I haven't. On that experience in the way of can't say that. But I can speak on what I have witnessed and what I have saw that I know was unjust. I can say that. But because I can say that, how many more of us that have seen stuff like that and won't speak on it? You know, just like I'm a black man and I see this happening to another black man, that does not make me happy. That makes me sad, actually. And it makes me sad because if I can actually do something in some shape, form, or fashion to help this person, then I feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. But what a lot of people do is once they, Because like now everybody runs around with a cell phone and they just wanna like just record events and upload them online and say, "Oh, look at this." And people go and look at the transgressions that have happened, not understanding the situation and not realizing that somebody could possibly be dead or close to death because these folk got it wrong. And they got it wrong because they're profiling. And now it's the black cops that are doing more of the profiling than the white cops because they're doing the work for the white police chief. Whatever happened to the real justice? Whatever happened to the rights of these folk that have these rights to do what they're supposed to do in society? Are we taking those away now? Are we being judge, jury, and prosecutor? We're all that now. We're doing all that. And so in doing that, what that means is all about you destroying the black man. That's what this is all about. But believe me, there's going to be other ways and other changes that could possibly that can come to fruition that can make this that much better, but it does not start unless we all do the right thing. Especially in our communities, we need to start gathering a whole lot more. We need to be doing what we need to be doing for our communities. That's what it all comes back to. Our communities. And this last question on this justice system and mental health is, will they be here for me when I need them? That's the burning question. That's what the black man is asking in his mind of either of family, friends, and other folk that he knows. Will they be here for me when I need them? Because I am there for them. This should make a lot of people wonder and think about if you call yourself having a friendship with somebody or if it's one of your relatives that you have actually turned your back on him when he was in a bad situation and he needed you most. You wouldn't even think about asking him when the situation is about you. But now that it's about him and he needs your help, you're not going to be there for him. Think about that for a second. How does that really work? Does that really sound like something that family and friends would do to another? Yes, it does. Because most of us have seen that. And when we see that, do we speak up against that? That's the thing. Let's start using these voices and projecting. But because we're projecting, that don't mean that that's all there is, because there's a whole lot more. But what that does mean is that when it comes down to providing that support when you know you're needed, you need to be there firsthand. You need to be there. Because black men have got targets not just on their backs, but their fronts and their heads. That's 3 targets. We've got to be there. We've got to be there for each other. Now, the truth that's not being taught is that, we talk about the facts of premature death, unfair trials, and erased narratives. See, these are things that are not talked about. And when we talk about premature death, that is, people dying these mysterious deaths in many ways, and they're under somebody's care or somebody's watch, and they died this crazy, crazy death that nobody speaks of. It's like, oh, somebody, they just died. You know, when we talk about the unfair trials, now we all know about the unfair trials because when a black man goes to court and he's sitting there and he's got to be judged by his peers are not everybody white, but according to the system at play in the federal system, you will not have a jury that's going to have more than half the people being black. It's a quota system. You'll have two. You'll have two compared to these 6 white people and this one Hispanic or this one Asian. Is that for me as a black man? What I just mentioned, those are not my peers. Those are not my peers. But you know, for those that are playing gatekeeper for those that they feel like, you know, treating other black folk this way is the way they should do in order for them to prosper, those folk, you couldn't be able to rely on them as well when it comes to a jury. Because self-hatred goes a long way. If you hate yourself, you'll hate anybody. If you can't live your life, you don't care. As long as you get to affect somebody else's life. And see, this is where I really don't understand how you can say that a trial is fair when 2 people out of 12 look like you. Is that fair to anybody else? I mean, give me some feedback. Y'all send me some comments and questions here. You know, where we can actually do these live on the air. Because, you know, this attack on black men, though, is really hard, but we need to do something about it. We really do. And so I'm going to talk about the emphasizing the need for leadership, community building, and family unity. You see, this has always been the case because our dynamics were always tight, tough, and always together. But it's now at this point that now that's gone. That part is gone. So it doesn't really work that way anymore, but we can make it work that way. And we can make it work that way because we can all come together, do what we're supposed to do, and let's support our real leaders. We don't need people outside of our communities or outside of our ethnicity telling us, this is your leader. How the hell are you going to tell me who my leader is? But that's what's happening. That's some old style politics from back in the 60s where they're telling black people, you don't have the capabilities of picking your own leader, so we're going to pick your leader for you. We're going to pick your leader for you. No, I don't think so. And so we're going to reclaim the narrative here. You know, this when we're talking about you know, how they're erasing our story. Now they don't went too far with that, but now everything that the black man has done, these people are trying to find a way unequivocally. They're finding a way unequivocally to just let it be known that this ain't a part of history and it's not going to be in the books. That's what they're doing. So it's one of those things, yeah, we expect that, but you know, the truth is the truth. We all know that the original and person on the face of this earth was a black man. We all know that. We all know the story about Adam and Eve. We all know the story about Jesus. We all know that the original Bibles over in Ethiopia that was stolen and rewritten, and they come up with this King James version. We all know that. We know about all the other books that have been written by especially famous black folk that, now they want to just totally get rid of them and they don't want people to know about the historical context. Who are the real leaders of this world? The real kings were black kings. The queens were black women. That's original. Those are in the real books. But the remade history and everything about the culture of being black was stolen, and now you see the white folk doing that stuff now and talking about, oh, they've been queens and kings for millions of years and all of this other good craziness, and that's not true. What we got to remember is that white folk didn't even know how to clean themselves. The Moors actually migrated from Africa over into Europe and taught them how to clean themselves, how to be civilized, brought them out the caves to teach them. But let it be told, the savages are black people. The black people are savages, but they're the real savages and had to be taught by black men, the Moors. That's history. I ain't making that up. I ain't making that up. And if anybody can refute that, please put that in that chat and in that comment and tell me that I'm wrong and tell me where I can find the truth. You see, what we're not doing is we're not doing what we're supposed to do in our communities because we've been bull we've been hoodwinked so badly that we're afraid to even congregate with one another because of what these people may say about us. This is why when we take our dollars and we spend them out in these other places and we don't support our own communities, and some of us actually look at those underserved communities and say, "Oh, that is so horrible the way they live. Oh, that's so ghetto. Oh, that's so hood." Okay, but I think you came from the hood. So now that you left the hood, that means that you can't give back. That means that you can't come back and do your part to keep it going. You don't have to live there, but you can give back. This is where, especially as black men, this is where we need to take up that leadership. This is where we need to actually start this out. We need to bring everybody in together and we all do this. It's got to start with you, black man. It's got to start with you. Got to start with you. So let's do what we're supposed to do. We ain't got to sit there and play games. We just need to do what we need to do. Now I'm gonna tell you guys about some personal reflections, and I'm gonna tell you about this call of action that I have. And so, I felt the sting of betrayal. I felt the sting of betrayal, and when I say that, I felt it by, from a lot of black men that look like myself, and a lot of folk out here in this audience are supporting a lot of those people. Unbeknownst to them, they really maybe they're just not thinking about it. But when you have, I won't even mention their names here because they're not worth being mentioned on this platform. But I'm gonna say this: some of those networks that you guys look at, and you see these people, especially in the sports arena, and y'all looking at these networks where these folk are sitting there and they're like just call themselves just real journal people and knowing everything that they need to know about these particular sports and so forth, and they ain't even played the game, but they're supposed to have God's word on everything because they're supposed to be the truth and nothing but the truth. How you gonna tell somebody what their job is or how that sport should be played if you ain't never played it? Forget what you say you read. Did you play? If you didn't play, shut up. Stick to sports. But you get these guys on these particular networks, especially when it comes to the black athletes, black women, they tear them down. Tear them all the way down. Tear them all the way down. And it's like, primarily, if people have not noticed by now, that's what their jobs are. Their jobs are to do just that one thing, is to come out there and destroy black lives and have people talking about them. Well, I tell you, like I said, I would not dignify those folks to even one time to have their name shouted out on this platform. It will not happen. Because that kind of trash ain't dealing with the communities that I know of, because that's not what we do. We build, we don't destroy. And I need you guys to start documenting and storytelling and doing it with emotional honesty, for all the things that you see. Document, make your own history. Start documenting right now. When you go, if you haven't learned to journal, start journaling, writing that down. That's a documentation. Journalize everything that you're seeing, everything that you're experiencing, and not only how it made you feel, but all of the people that were involved. Write all of that down, document it, create history, because you get to be 80, 90 years old. You'll be able to pull that out and you can show it to your great grandkids. Give it to your kids, maybe. But it's something to continue the history and the legacy of your family. That's what you want to do. And so, as I say, is black men, be the king that you are. Be the king that you are. But being the king that you are means that you're going to accept accountability for the shortfallings as well. It's not about just everything being up, because nobody's up all the time. But you need to accept your part in the accountability as to what you do. Again, ain't nobody perfect. Ain't nobody perfect. But I can tell you this, our leadership as black men pull everybody else in when we're doing it right. Keep pulling them in. As we pull them in and we're leading, again, this is building our tribe. This is building our communities. This is making our communities stronger. Get out there and take that initiative. Go out there and start doing the things that you know you need to do or what you need in your community. Get out there and start that fight. When I say start that fight, so let me just make sure I clarify. Because people say, oh, he's preaching violence. I'm not preaching violence. The fight is actually getting it done. That's the fight. Getting it done. I'm not talking about going out there and fighting and hurting people. No. I'm talking about fighting for your community. Go do the thing that you know to do, because you know there's going to be some pushback. That pushback, you got to push back against the pushback, and you got to get out there and you got to do it. Because if you don't get out there and do it, nobody else is going to do it. You see, we're paying taxes to not just the local county, city governments, but the state governments and the federal government. And when it comes down to our communities, we get none whatsoever of the resources that we need. And we get none of those resources, which is causing our people to run from their communities to go live in what they call white communities in order to get what they say they need, when only thing they're doing is creating a place that's going to create the white flight, where they're going to come back to where you are, and you're going to be outside looking in. That's how the gentrification thing works. That's how it works. But there's not enough people fighting for their communities to keep that out of their communities. Build your own community. Build your own community. And so as we get down to this last part, of the show, I want to thank each and every individual that was here this whole time, and those that enjoyed the show, because it's very important that I speak out about Black men in general. We've got some that's got some shortcomings, but the majority of us are actually doing a positive thing. I'm inviting you all here into America in Black and White because what we do is nothing but Black excellence. And I want you guys to be a part of this Black excellence as we tell the story of our culture, of our people, of the professionals that are totally, totally dominating their career industries and doing all the wonderful things that they do. Those things American Black and White does not exist without those. So as they've come here to the show, they've come here to do one thing. That is to display the Black excellence of what they're doing in their communities and how they're contributing to building their communities. When I think about all of the things that we've gone through, we've got to remember one thing. When we can see ourselves in a positive light, that is looking in the mirror, then we get that same outlook. When you come into America in Black and White, when you're on this show, you get Black excellence. You get exactly what we need you to get because we want you to be at your very, very best. Everybody can participate in this show. But we're all about building the underserved and marginalized communities, and we're also about creating that legacy, that long living legacy of what Black history is supposed to be. And so, just so you understand that we are here where we have done basically everything that we could possibly do in order to continue to show you all the positive side, the positive light of what Black culture is, of what Black excellence is. We're doing that, and we're going to continue to do that. So as you watch the kings and queens that come here and tell you their stories live for the time that we do shows, you guys should be taking messages from what they're talking about because these are their contributions to the community. This is how we want to grow the community. So are you going to just let this go by the wayside, or are you going to participate? We want you to participate. We want you to be a part of this. We want you all to continue to see Black excellence as you see it and know that this is what you look like. And I want to thank you guys also for knowing that, for the opportunity and knowing that now we've issued our third issue of the magazine AMIBW. That magazine in itself is setting a standard. It's going to continue to set a standard for years long and past. Because when you see all of those kings and queens, as I told you, that's been here on this platform, they're here for a reason. And my hat goes off to all of them that's been here because they've contributed to what this legacy is about. They've contributed. And I want to thank you guys because it really means that much, not just to me, but for those that really need this uplifting and to be a part of something like this that's so dynamic that is able to touch for miles and miles away. And so that's what we aim to do. We aim to please, and we aim to keep you guys, here as a part of our platform as we go out. And so, in closing, I just want you guys to understand this. We've heard the echoes of pain and the roar of purpose. We've named the burdens and the celebrated and, and celebrated the breakthroughs. And if nothing else, let tonight be a reminder. To be a black man in America is not a curse, it's a calling. A calling to rise, to build, to protect, and to tell the truth, even when it shakes the room. We're not just survivors, we are architects of change. We are not just statistics, we are storytellers of legacy. And as we close this chapter, remember the weight we carry is real, but so is the strength we will. Keep building, keep speaking, keep living your truth because the world needs it, and so do we. I want to thank you all for joining us here tonight on America in Black and White. And I want each and every last one of you that's watching on all the 8 channels that we stream live on, especially the YouTube channels. Please pledge your support by supporting us and subscribing and enabling all the notifications on all those YouTube channels in which you're watching this show. Because this show is not just about this platform, it's about you. And it's about you having the opportunity to see people in the light in which you are coming into to expand and to grow and to be those people that you have always aspired to be. I'm your host, Charles King. I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. Join us again tomorrow night on another episode of America in Black and White, where we will continue to color conversations on the canvas of America.